Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I have got a quick video for you here, and I'm going to create a spooky paper rosette bouquet. If you've been following me for a while, you'll remember that I made one of these bouquets for my Valentine series last year, and I thought it would be really fun to try and do a spooky take on this. So I'm showing you quickly how I create the actual flowers from the rosettes. I use paper straws, and I'm just going to pinch the ends together there, add some hot glue, and I'll place that on the back of my rosette. Add a little more glue, and then I have trimmed out some 1-inch circles from MFT's Jelly Bean Green, and I'll just place that on top. So here I'm working with some crepe paper rosettes, and I've made those by either folding over the crepe paper or layering several pieces together and then sewing those along one side and gathering them together. And then finishing them off, I do them front and back the same way that I do my regular paper rosettes. So I will eventually do a tutorial for you. I didn't have time to slow down and go through the process at the moment in the middle of all the Halloween videos, but I will eventually do a quick 5-minute tutorial for you on how I create those. So I've gone to my Cricut and I have trimmed out some leaves and some long sort of leaf stems to just fill out my bouquet a little bit, and I'm going to hot glue these leaves onto my paper straws just on the smaller flowers. You really don't see these so much when they're placed in the bouquet, but I think it gives a little something extra when you unwrap it. And I have trimmed these out again using MFT's Jelly Bean Green. So I just add a little bit of hot glue to the stem and then place that and just wrap it around the straw very carefully so I don't burn my fingers. Once I have all of those completed, I'm going to create the wrap for my flowers to be placed into. This is always one of the more difficult things for me to do when I'm putting one of these together. But I start out with a piece of one of the Simon Says stamp bags that their card kits come in. And I just trim that down and I sort of try to fold it into a triangle. And I want to leave enough room, that I can stuff everything in there, but I also want to wrap it nice and tight. So this gives you a little look at how I get that to work, but honestly, I do this a little differently every time. I just try to create a triangle with some folded over flaps. I'm going to start putting everything together here. So I try to stagger these longer stems. They're always difficult to sort of make them be seen because of the size of the flowers, but I try to stagger them and have one a little taller than the other. And then I'll start with my largest flowers and then work by adding in my smaller ones. And I do fuss around with this quite a bit because I'm trying to get some, but not a whole lot of that greenery showing. I want to see all the pretty little flowers, but also make it look, somewhat like a real bouquet. So once I have that in place, I've grabbed some twine from my stash. I'm just going to cut off a piece of that. I'm going to pull all of this together. Again, I'm going to keep rearranging just to make sure that I'm getting the look that I want. But I want to try and keep these tight together so they don't move around too much when I mail this. I'll go ahead there and tie that in a knot. And I wasn't worried too much about the crumpleness of the paper bag. I wanted this to look sort of spooky. I wanted it to have a Halloween sort of dead flower look. So in a second here, you'll see I will actually take the bottom and twist this around. And I think that just sort of adds to the spooky look. So I'm again just fussing around with this, trying to get everything in the position where I like it. And I cut out a bunch of this for you. But once I had it in a position that I liked, I grabbed some of this webbing. I picked this up at the dollar store, and I just wanted to wrap this around to create a more spooky effect. So I'm just gonna place this around the rosettes, and then I will go ahead and wrap a nice thick strand of it around where I tied the paper bag together. I've grabbed a glittery spider here. I picked this up at Michael's. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue and place that down. And then I'm grabbing some of these sentiments that I had stamped out for the rosettes that I put together. So I went with this one that says, "You are my boo." This is stamped on some Nina cardstock using some Simon Says Stamp black ink. And this is from the Ellen Hutson Pumpkin to Talk About stamp set. I'll add a removable glue dot there. I don't want to tear the paper when they take this apart. And just stick that, slide that underneath one of the edges there. So once I am, for the most part, happy with this, it's going to change again because it always moves when you stick it inside the bag. But I always save when I get a scrapbook.com order and it has the individual pages. They come in these protective sheets a lot of the time. So I always save those. That's what I'm using here. It's probably 12.5 by 12.5 because it fits 12 by 12 pattern paper. And I'm just going to place this in and I will very carefully wrap this around. This will help keep everything together when it mails, so it's not a big old mess in the bottom of the box. And I'll add some washi tape. Again, just gently folding that. I want to be able to keep some of that greenery in view, so I don't want to squeeze anything too much. And then I'll tape down this other side here, and that will complete my bouquet. No, it won't. I wasn't happy with the greenery, so I'm going to go back in and move that around a little bit more, just so you can see that a little bit better. And then again, I will just fold over the sides. And tape each of those down. Now I'm happier with that. And that is the finished bouquet. So I have included a few close-ups here for you. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.